Please subscribe the channel and don't forget to click the bell icon.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Botanica. So we have completed most of our syllabus, our topics. We are heading to the last one or two topics which are remaining in our syllabus. So our next topic is after the translocation of food in phloem. We have studied it in detail, the mechanism of translocation in the phloem. Now we are turning our attention to gaseous exchange in plants, that leaves and atmosphere. How plants interact with their atmosphere, how the different types of gases are exchanged with the atmosphere, what is the mechanism, what are the different types of organs and tissues and cells which are involved in this type of diffusion, why this diffusion and the exchange of gases is necessary or essential for the plants, and how it functions for the plants. So we are going to discuss all these details in this particular topic. So as far as the gaseous exchange is concerned, so leaves, as you know, they generally have a large surface area and high surface to volume ratio. And when you see the leaf, so what you that is the expanded portion, the lamina which is present on that is the main part of the leaf. That is the expanded portion, and it provides a high surface, a more surface, so that more light can be absorbed on the surface, and when there will be maximum light absorption from the atmosphere, from the surrounding, from the environment, so what will happen, there will be a more photosynthesis enzyme will be saturated, all the photosynthesis enzyme, and there will be a maximum product of photosynthesis. So this large surface area enhances light absorption for photosynthesis. So as we know that the major function of the leaf is, there are also various other functions, but the major function of the leaf is that is associated with the photosynthesis, formation of food, synthesis of food by the process of photosynthesis, by absorbing the light from the environment and by using the water, splitting the water. Electron transport chain is carried out, and after that there is a Calvin cycle which result in the formation of sugars. So as there will be a more surface area, so it will result in the more food, the maximum food. So the high surface to volume ratio aids in CO2 absorption. As there is a more surface area, so it can absorb more light along with the more carbon dioxide absorption. As in the photosynthesis, what will happen, carbon is fixed from the environment, so when there is a more surface area, so there will be a more exposure to the environment, and there will be more carbon dioxide absorption during photosynthesis, as well as in the release of oxygen, which is the byproduct of the photosynthesis, which is released by the process of photosynthesis. But remember, till now we are discussing leaves with the respect to the photosynthesis, its ability to carry out the photosynthesis, which is that it has the high one characteristic, that it has high surface to volume ratio. So when we study the leaf structure, so it will we are talking about in terms of its absorption and transpiration in terms of that. Upon diffusing through the stomata, so when CO2 enters into the leaf by the passage of stomata, which is singular is the stoma, enters the honeycomb of air spaces formed by the spongy mesophyll cells. So when carbon dioxide enters the stomata, when it is now within the leaf, so what will happen, it will be splitted, it will go to the air spaces, and from those air spaces it will be diffused into the cells, where it will be used to make the food molecules. For example, here we have a surface leaf which will contain a high surface to volume ratio, so along with the various other tissues, various other cells which are present in the structure. Here we have the stoma, or the opening on the surface of the leaves. Here is the cuticle or the epidermis. On the epidermis there is a stoma, that is a singular, which is present on the surface of the leaf. There is a on the above surface as well as on the below surface as well. So these stoma, when they are seen under the electron micrograph, so they are these openings simply which are present for the exchange of gases, and not for only for the exchange of gases, they are used for the transpiration as well. So these are the guard cells which are present on the, which are the specialized cell present on the stomatal. And this is the epidermis where these cells are present, and this is the surface view of spider web, that is Tradescantia leaf, where these stomata or opening are present. So what is the function of these stomata? So these functions are related, these stomata are related to the gaseous exchange as well as for the transpiration. So as far as the stomatal complex is concerned, although it has a large surface area and high surface to volume ratio, increases the rate of photosynthesis, as there is a both characteristics which are favorable for the photosynthesis, that it has a large surface area and also it has high surface as compared to the volume. So it increases the rate of photosynthesis. So all the enzymes, or the most of the enzyme, majority of the enzyme, they are saturated. So they also increase water loss by way of the stomata. As there is stomata are not only associated only with the photosynthesis, they are also involved in with the process of transpiration. Water is also lost through this stomata. So as it provides a large surface area, a characteristic feature for the photosynthesis, but it has also disadvantageous side, that it also will result in the more water loss when there is a water is needed for the plant. So thus a plant's tremendous requirement of water is largely a consequence of the shoot system need for ample exchange of CO2 and O2 for photosynthesis. So what does this sentence mean? That the requirement of the water is the result of, is the product of the shoot system, which need the exchange of the exchange of carbon dioxide with the environment, absorption of carbon and release of oxygen for the photosynthesis. So stomata are not only involved in the not only transfer, or we can say that not only exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen, but they have also role with the transpiration, and transpiration is also termed as it is a necessary evil. And why it is called? Because it is necessary for the plant, because water within the plant, it makes a continuous column, and that continuous column is because of the transpiration pull which is exerted by this transpiration which is occurring through the stomata. So by opening and closing the stomata, guard cell help the balance of the plant's requirement. So these stomata are not static. What it means that they are not, it doesn't mean that if they are in open form, that they are open, the gaseous exchange and transpiration is occurring, so they will be open throughout the life, or they will be open 24 hours in a day. So this is not the case. So the stomata are regulated. They are either opened or they are closed according to the need of the plant, according to the need of the carbon dioxide fixation, according to the need of the oxygen release, according to the need of the transpiration. So these are all are the factors which are responsible for either opening or closing of the stomata. So remember, so these stomata, as they are associated with the gaseous exchange along with the they are also involved in the transpiration, the loss of water. So they are regulated, and these guard cells, which are the specialized cells present on the stomata, what they do, they help to the plant to open or close these stomata according to the requirement of the plant. So as far as the epidermis of leaves contains pores, so what is these pores? We have discussed, these are the stomata, and they provide the exchange of gases between the internal air spaces and the environment, ambient environment, which is in direct contact with the plant, that is the ambient environment. So what will do, these pores which are present on the epidermis, what we call the stomata or the stoma single, so what they do, they are involved in the exchange of gases as well as they are also involved in the transpiration. So what they do, they exchange the gases and they will diffuse it into the internal air spaces. From those internal air spaces, the gases will move into the cell. The opening or stoma is bordered by a pair of unique cells called the guard cells. So as we have seen that the opening or the stomata which is present on the epidermis, that is surrounded by, that is bordered by a specialized pair of cells. A pair of cells which is specialized, which is present only in the stomata and it is not present anywhere else in the plant. So that's why it is called that this is the special or the unique pair of cells that are called the guard cells. And why they are unique, or we can say that the structure of the guard cell fits into the function of the stomata. How we will see it in the next cell. So in most cases the guard cells are in turn surrounded by the specialized differentiated epidermal cells called the subsidiary cells. So remember we are talking about the stomatal complex. So this is the organization of the stomatal complex, that there is an opening and that opening is bordered, or it is surrounded by, or we can say that that opening is because of the result of the regulation of the guard cells. So these guard cells which are present direct to the near to that opening, so that these are the first cell, and after these guard cells there are another cells which are specialized cells in the epidermis. So they are also differentiated epidermal cells, and what they do, they are the subsidiary cells which are also specialized. So this stoma together with its bordering guard cells and subsidiary cells is referred to as the stomatal complex or stomatal apparatus. So these stomata, which are the opening on the plant on the surface of the leaves, along with the guard cells which are in turn surrounded by the subsidiary cells, so these all together constitute the stomatal complex. They will collectively make the stomatal complex. Why we are adding these subsidiary cells and guard cells into the stomata? Because these two types of cells are involved in the regulation of the stomata. Either the stomata will be closed or it will be open. So it is regulated by these two types of cells. That's why we are adding these cells to the stomatal complex. They have a function which is related to the function of the stomata. So here we have the actual diagrams of the stomata, that for example these are the guard cells. From the center here we have the stoma, or the opening, which is found on the surface of the epidermis, used for the exchange of gases, and here is the specialized pair of cells that is called the guard cells. And remember, this particular guard cells and the pair of cells will always be present along with the stoma. And next to the guard cells there are another cells which are called the subsidiary cells. For example, this particular cell, the cell which is present here and here, they are also the subsidiary cells. And why they are also added into the stomatal complex? Because they have a function with the stomata, because when the stomata are regulated, either they are opened or closed, these subsidiary cells will also have their function. So this is the closed stomata. So there is no opening here, the small type of opening, as compared to this one. Here is they are turgid, they contain more water, and the stomata is open, and there will be exchange of gases. And you can see here the change of structure in the nearby cells, in the subsidiary cells as well. You can see that here the cells are the subsidiary cells, they are also in different structure in this particular diagram and in the left and right. So this is not only the function of the stomata, or the stomata is not only responsible for its regulation, the nearby cells, the subsidiary cells which are which are present in the stomatal complex, they also have a function. So the distinguishing feature of the stomatal complex, and what is the distinguishing feature? That is in the stomatal complex, that is the pair of the guard cells, and which we have discussed, that function as a hydraulically operated valve. So these specialized type of cells, this specialized pair of cells, that we are calling it the guard cells, it act as a regulatory cells. So they are regulatory cells, they will open or close the stoma, the opening. So why it is called hydraulically operated, or hydraulic is from the water, hydraulic pumps, and hydraulic hydra means the water, we can say that the hydrogen, and so they are related terms which are hydraulically operated, that it has something to do with the water, a liquid type of thing. So that is the water which is present in the plants. So that hydraulically operated valve, why it is hydraulically operated valve? Because it is operated by the liquid or the solution or the water which is present in the guard cells. Either the stomata or the opening will be closed or it will be open. So it is determined by the concentration of the solute or the water which is present in the guard cells. If the guard cells are turgid or they are flaccid, so they are either open or they are closed according to the situation of the water in the cell. So guard cells takes up water and swell to open the pore. So whenever there is a need of opening of the guard cells in the stoma, so what will happen, these guard cells will absorb water from the surrounding, they will become turgid, they will swell, and what will happen, the pore will be open and CO2 will be entering into the cells, diffusing into the cells and into the intercellular spaces, and water will be lost to close the pore when CO2 is not required or when stress overrides the photosynthetic needs of the plant. So these are two opposite things. So plant has to balance these both the things, that it should be managed, that the complete water loss should be avoided, along with the CO2 should also enter into the cell, because when stomata will be open, both the processes will be occurring. Water will be lost and exchange of gases will occur. Exchange of gases is necessary to carry out photosynthesis to make food, but there is another disadvantage, that the open stomata will leave or will result in the more loss of water. So what will do, plant will balance between these two, that it will not open all the stomata which are present on the surface, and it will close some of the stomata and some are open. So what will happen, there will be a CO2 which will be entering into the cells along with the water, less water which is lost through the stomatal complex. So more than 90% of the carbon dioxide and water vapor exchange between plants and its environment passes through the stomata. So we can say that stomatal complex or the stomata, they are the main source, main opening for the exchange with the environment. So whenever there is exchange, so more than 90%, there are some also other structures which are involved in the exchange of gases with the environment, but basically these are the structures which are involved in the gaseous exchange. Stomata are therefore involved in controlling two very important but competing processes. Okay, these two processes are very important: photosynthesis or gaseous exchange, and the transpiration. As transpiration is also necessary, it is also necessary, but they are competing process. So it is not the case that when the gaseous exchange will occur, there will be no transpiration, or when there will be a transpiration, there will be no gaseous exchange. So these two processes are occurring side by side, they are occurring simultaneously, and plant is balancing both the process quite efficiently. So uptake of carbon dioxide, as the stomata are involved in the uptake of the carbon dioxide, and there is also transpirational water loss, but these two are the competing processes, and plant has to balance these two. And what will happen, there should be enough CO2 in the intercellular spaces, so that Calvin cycle should be carried out, carbon should be fixed, and food should be made, and as well as transpirational water loss should be controlled, should be at the level which will not harsh or which will not result in the harmful result for the plant.